Hey, good morning, everybody. If you're watching from Colorado, if you're watching from the East Coast, good afternoon. Take a bite of that hoagie sandwich that you have out there. If you are on the West Coast, you're about 9 o'clock, 9:10 in the morning time, so you're kind of getting your day started. I'm on at a different time today with hurdlers of adversity, inspirers, and maximizers of pivotal moments. And the reason for that is because my day is like crazy right now. So I couldn't do it at the regular time. So I'm hoping that some of the regulars can get on, but I know if you can't, and I know that if it's in your work day, I'm sorry about that. I really apologize. We'll be back for our regularly scheduled time next week at 3:12 in the afternoon Mountain Time, which is 5:12 Eastern Time. So just wanted to jump in and talk to you today. We have a phenomenal guest as we're going to be talking with Tiana Cooks. And that's going to be just we got her in the green room and attending from Charlotte. That's got to be Lynn Keir up there. Thank you, Lynn, for jumping in. I'm assuming that's you because it's saying Charlotte, North Carolina, and you're like my heart from Charlotte. So thank you for being here. Love. Once again, my name is John Register, and you are on Hurdlers of Adversity, Inspirers and Maximizers of Pivotal Moments. And this show is all about introducing you to amazing individuals who've overcome some type of adversity and are now living a life that gives back to us. This has been a crazy week for me. So as you come on in, you have your coffee, you have your tea, just put where you're streaming in from today and share this stream out. This we're going to talk about with inside of National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Of course, we're celebrating this all month long and just doing that. Yes, Lynn, I knew it was you. I knew it was you. So I'll put you on the screen right there. Boom, it's Lynn Keir. Yeah, she's my shero. So, we're talking about this month because it's really an important month to celebrate, to honor, and also talk about how much more we have to go with National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Because when you look at the ADA 30 years since the American with Disabilities Act was passed by George H.W. Bush in 1990, we have a lot of curb cutouts. We have a lot of physical access that's now available around the world, so to speak, but in the United States for sure, we have that, and some other countries as well. But we also have two things that we don't really talk about too much. One is employment. The employment numbers have not dropped in those 30 years, but maybe about 1%. So we talk about the employment of people with disabilities and who's in our midst right now that has disabilities that we don't even think about. So our guest today, when we begin to introduce her, she's a person that lives with a hidden disability. And how many times do we think, we're trying to get people on our team, but we already might have people on our team that identify as such that we don't even know about. So as we're getting ready today, I just want you to make yourself at home, share this broadcast out right now. We'll be on for a few minutes. Of course, the 35 minutes to chat, but I'm just giving you time to get on. So whether you're streaming from YouTube or you're streaming from the Facebook group, Amputate Fear, or you're on LinkedIn Live, I just want to thank you for joining in to the room. If you have anybody on your team that wants to have the conversation and jump in, if I'm looking over here, that means I'm accessing the chat, and I want to make sure that we're honoring you with your time that you have today. If you have any questions for myself or Tiana, that's going to be coming up. Just put them in the chat. We want to answer your questions and build this community out. If you want to join our Facebook group, go on over to www.facebook.com/groups/amputate fear, and we'll be able to welcome you into the thing. I think I forgot to even go over there today to welcome Tiana in there. So she's over there. So I have to go over there, make sure that she can push that out for her audience and fans as well. So a little bit of background on myself. I am a former world-class athlete, hurdler. I was top 10 in the nation, top 20 in the world, trying to make the Olympic team in the 400-meter hurdles. I dislocated my knee upon landing. I had an injury that resulted in the dislocation of my knee, severed the artery behind the kneecap. 7 days later, I became an amputee, chose an elective surgery to become an amputee. So how do you get beyond that? How do you get past that? How do you create this and embrace this new normal mindset? Well, it really was my wife, my family, someone's closest to me. She said, John, you know what? We're going to get through this together. This is just our new normal. So Alice kind of gave me those words and that mindset, that framework. And a lot of people who are out there right now, they have this framework that the new normal is a destination. That when I show up, it's going to be the new normal. I can't wait till things get back to normal. That's not how I'm looking at it. New means no prior point of reference. So when COVID hit, I said, okay, we've never been in a situation like this, so I have no reference point. This is new. And normal is the everyday typical occurrence of a thought or an action. What am I going to do every single day to advance in this new space, this new environment? In other words, the ceiling becomes the floor, and we begin to elevate off that floor, build a different foundation than what we've had in the past, because that foundation we have to tear up. It's gone. We don't have that anymore. So if you're thinking about trying to go back to the way things used to be, that's not going to happen. Now, we might go back there with attitudes. We might go back there in complacency as we become more comfortable in this space that we're in. But I hope not. I hope we're learning something. I hope we're journaling things down to actually elevate us. So once again, put in the chat box, where you're from, how you are streaming in. Would love to just kind of connect and chat with you on this platform. So let's get into our guest for the day, because I just can't wait to talk to her. She is just one of these individuals who is such a phenom. I enjoyed watching her compete. She's in the Colorado Springs area, and I've just seen her grow over the course of the years. So I got asked to do this pageant, one of these Colorado pageants. And I didn't know what it was all about, because I really have not been in that space before. So I was one of these judges on these pageants, and this young lady had just such grace and such poise, answered questions brilliantly. But she also had this kind of thing sticking out her side, right? It was this insulin pump, to which I guess some of the contestants were saying, what is that, an MP3 player? So I was fascinated by just how she was showing up and doing this pageant as her full authentic self, and how much courage, it obviously seemed to take for individuals that are in a kind of pageant like this to actually show up and really bring awareness to the disability that she has been living with, for all of her life. And so I just want to introduce you to this woman who has been national of the NPC bodybuilding competition, because she's rock solid. She is a community manager at Beyond Type 1 office out of San Francisco, but she's kind of, COVID, she's in Colorado Springs working, organizing camps, multiple camps, over 5 camps she's organized for people living with diabetes. Please welcome the lovely, the amazing, the phenomenal woman, Tiana Cooks. Thank you, Tiana.
That was quite an intro. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on, and thanks for saying yes. I really appreciate that. So let's start where I met you, right? So we're doing the Miss Colorado pageant, and I have never done a pageant before in my life, and I'm like, why am I even here? But it was I learned a lot. I learned a lot about pageantry and the questions and kind of the causes that people advance forward. And when you're kind of going with your cause on type 1, type 2 diabetes. What made you want to do that pageant in the first place?
I was actually competing in pageants since 12th grade. So my first pageant ever was senior year of high school. And I remember telling myself that senior year was going to be the best year ever. And it wasn't until March of my senior year when I was diagnosed with type 1. And I felt even more empowered after then to advocate for people, and just to show people that it doesn't matter what you have or what your circumstance may be, you are just as capable and you are just as worthy of being on that stage. And that was what my kind of intent was going into it.
Yeah. So when you get diagnosed, it's your senior year, that's kind of like, I'm about to sail off, I'm about to go to college, all these things that are happening in your life. What did that do when you heard that from the doctor or whomever might have told you? What was kind of going through your mind?
When I was diagnosed, I remember it like yesterday. I was laying in the bed, and when they came in and told me I had type 1, my immediate reaction was to just start crying. And my mom came over me and she said, don't, because everything happens for a reason. And now you have to use this, and you have to take it out into the world and make this something, use your voice and amplify your voice so that other little girls know that they could be strong living with this diabetes, and that they can achieve and accomplish anything. And so I was just kind of more driven to do more after that. It also just, it really put into perspective how precious life is and how quickly things can be taken away, including our health. And it doesn't matter how healthy you are. Tomorrow, your pancreas could stop working. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So tell us a little bit to educate the audience, those that haven't had diabetes or really don't know too much about it. What's the difference? Like, I hear type 1, I hear type 2. What's the difference between both of those?
Yeah, that's a great question. So type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. I like to tell people, it's kind of a funny analogy, but like when you get a cold, you just get a cold, right? It's just out of nowhere. It's not like you intentionally get a cold. And that's kind of how it was when I was diagnosed with type 1. They still don't know what causes it. They think it may be something in the environment, but pretty much what happens is your immune system attacks the cells that your pancreas needs to create insulin. And once those cells are attacked and your pancreas can no longer produce insulin, which is what it needs to break down carbohydrates and foods every single day, you then become insulin dependent and have to take insulin via a shot. They have an insulin pump, or they have like inhalable insulin now. Whereas type 2 diabetes is typically, it happens sometimes when they like to say individuals are like overweight, but I also know that it can happen with age when your pancreas kind of just slows down, and it still produces insulin, but it just doesn't produce quite enough to allow your body to function properly. And so I think there's a lot of misconceptions there. People often associate the two and think that it's just the same thing, but it's a little bit different, just given like the daily regimen and like what you have to do on a daily basis to stay alive.
So what is your daily regimen? Because I know when I was watching, I was really fascinated, by the whole pageant. But when I saw you, and it's all, there's so many people that are body conscious, right? And you were just like up there. This is just a part of who I am. It's like wearing a prosthetic, for because you wear an insulin pump. And so, tell us, walk us through that. How do you get so confident just to do that and show up, wearing that, right?
Right. So I actually did a talk about confidence and living with disability just a few weeks back. And something that I highlighted was that, at the end of the day, I think that we are all here for a reason and we all have a purpose to serve. And my mentality has always been like, there's no point in being upset or angry, because that's not going to change the fact that I have diabetes and it's not going to take it away. So you might as well embrace it, and you might as well be confident and boldly tell your story. I tell people often, like, you live one life, and in this life, what matters is people that you impact, your legacy, and that you live a full life authentically being you. And that includes your disability. If I have an insulin pump on, or if you have whatever it is that you have going on, be confident in that. And going back to your original question, I think for me, every single day, I look normal, right? Like people see me and I look just fine. But what they don't realize is that, like, even when I'm talking to you right now, in the back of my head, I'm thinking about what is my blood sugar. Because at any given time of the day, if my blood sugar is too high or too low, I will start to feel really sick. And it's just the constant battle. It's 24/7. I don't think people see the shots that you take daily, or counting your carbohydrates for every single meal. They don't see the struggle. They really just see me and I look fine. So I think that's why it's such an important topic to talk about, because it is a very invisible disability.
Yeah, I think that we don't understand how a person manages from day to day, whether it's in type 1 diabetes or type 2, or something else that might be a hidden disability, and we just can't see inside the brain or the pain, the struggle of what somebody else is thinking about. So it's really it's really great to understand and have this conversation now for people to be more empathetic. And so you did, I think, a phenomenal job. We talked a little bit about earlier in your introduction on competing in bodybuilding competition. So I see your Instagram posts all the time, and it's so it's really great to see the confidence that you display to help other, young girls, anybody else is watching you, to show how you can show up and just live life despite all the things that are going on in your life that you have to manage. What was it about bodybuilding that attracted you to just kind of show up in that space?
Yeah, I love this question. So if you know me and you know my family, you know that we're like a fit fam. Like my dad is just this big old dude, and he's always been super buff. Like boys in school used to be like, oh no, your dad's way too big. And
He's rock solid, yeah, for sure.
yeah, he's so big. And I know genetics do play a huge part, but like my dad works out so often and so consistently, and he is just in the gym, and he's always been like that. Like he used to wake up at 4 a.m. when I was growing up and be in the gym. I'd wake up, he was already gone. And so it just really, motivated me to take care of my body. And I see him now, and he still works out daily, and it's just inspiring, and it's just a constant reminder that we get one body and we have to take care of it. Our body is our temple. And I have been inspired, especially with my diabetes, to truly like maximize my, athletic abilities and my capabilities, especially when it comes to taking care of my body. And doing shows has been very fulfilling for me, because I don't know, it kind of just shows off like your hard work, but it's also a little bit like motivating to just like constantly get out there and work out. And I think when I'm up there, I'm always reminded too, like, I don't ever want people to feel bad for me or to feel sorry for me because I have a disability. I am going to work out just as hard or twice as hard as you, because I have to, and because I can, and because I am worthy of being up there. And so they don't see how difficult it is for me to like eat and do the diet and do the exercise, but I do it, and I think I do it pretty well.
Yeah, you do. Like I said, it's amazing. Yeah, your whole family is fit, so it's like, when I see y'all coming, I go to the other side of the street. So, just kidding. No, it's just beautiful family that you all have. If you're enjoying this conversation with Tiana, just put her in the chat box. She's on LinkedIn, so just put her out there and just say, our bodies are our temple. So just put that in the chat box and say attribute that to Tiana for saying that today on the today's show. We want to make sure that we are supporting this young lady for what she's doing and how she is showing up and actually inspiring other individuals, because we have all walks of life on here, from those who are more seasoned and kind of their careers are well established, to those who are just getting started in their careers and really are making impacts right now. So Tiana is doing just that. So just shout her out. Make sure that you are pushing this young talent that's out there that continues to grow and elevate the community. It's also interesting that we're talking about this month is Disability Employment Awareness Month. And a lot of times when I am asked to come in and talk to organizations, it's usually about, how do we find the talent, John? How do we find the talent for people with disabilities to come into our organization? Yep. So we got Link here, just shouted you out. So keep that. Boom. Our bodies are. Thank you, Tiana. Yes. Lynn is awesome. So we had her on the show too. So she's just great. She's always just jumping on. So I really appreciate her. So, as we're talking about this, a lot of times it's like, I'm in the space of more physical disability, visual impairments. That's just my world of kind of track and field and Paralympic sport. And I know others are, into intellectual disabilities and others into hidden disabilities. I just kind of stay in my lane and then help bring the conversation for those who are more articulate in that area than I. So I always try to stay where I'm in. But when you're looking at those people that have hidden disabilities, there are a lot more in the workplace than we want to kind of give credit to. And how do you think a person, or does a person disclose that in the workplace to kind of get the needs that they know will help them do their job better? What do you think about that?
Yeah. So personally, in my job right now, it is a a nonprofit organization, and we work with people who have diabetes. So I've been very fortunate to not have to go through, like, everybody understands. But just recently I was on a call with a bunch of individuals who actually expressed that they would prefer not to disclose, just because they don't want people to see their disability as a setback or something that makes them less capable of fulfilling their job. While on the other hand, others express that they do actually share about their disability and they do disclose this information, because if there are days where they need to take off, let's say my blood sugar is like 400 and I cannot go to work, that would be a valid reason for me to miss a day of work and not be penalized. So I think it depends on the individual, the workspace, and their comfort when it comes to disclosing that information. But
no, you're absolutely right. That is right down the line of what it's on your comfort level of what you want to disclose. But you make a great point that if you have disclosed, especially we're talking about, like, we'll just keep it on diabetes right now, and there's a spike or low that happens, people know, and that way they can manage around everything, because it doesn't have anything to do with your intellect or your talent level that you bring to the organization. It just has everything to do with how the organization is showing up for you, and so they can manage you at your optimum performance. So have you seen any of those any case examples like that with people that have come into your camps or come in and see that maybe I was discriminated against because of having type 1 or type 2 diabetes?
Yeah, I think it's always interesting talking to people about this, because sometimes I want to say it's just perspective. Maybe people assume that they were discriminated against because of a specific reason, while others would be like, oh, that wasn't it at all. It wasn't because of my disability.
Right.
And I know that some people have expressed in their workplace maybe not getting adequate hours or equal opportunities when it comes to or level opportunities when it comes to the workplace and their peers and coworkers, just because, let's say, I don't know, I want to say this in like the right term.
That's all right. Got Grace out of here. There's so many people that are loving on you right now. I saw there said another type 1 in the house. Keep rocking, Tiana. Yay! Woo!
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I need to answer this question because I think it's an important question. And people come to me with different scenarios pretty often, and I really do think it's just a case by case. It's hard to answer in like a very general. Yeah, just because I know that some people have said, like, yeah, I don't think I got the position because of my diabetes. And I'm like, okay, well, why is that? Well, I told them I had diabetes and that I might have to take X amount of sick days, given that I have doctor's appointments. I don't feel well. I need to take a break, or I can't show up to a meeting. And so under their assumption, they were discriminated against because they disclosed that information. And I really do think that could be a very common scenario for a lot of people. Hopefully it's not, but I could see that.
Well, no, I think you're right, because there are oftentimes in my talks, what I share is I have like a chart that goes from fear to freedom. And one of the things I talk about are other kind of on the fear side, when we start identifying fear, is other people. So other people believe for us or other individuals what they can or cannot do, their capabilities, what they can or cannot do, based upon what they believe they could or could not do if they were that person's situation. So therefore, our biases jump in and ahead of the conversation, instead of saying, okay, this person who might be totally blind just showed up to my job interview on time, 15 minutes early. And what did that take for them to do that? How much more could they do that on the job? And thinking from a different perspective. But oftentimes we limit people by what we believe we could do if we were in their situation, and that holds everybody back.
Right.
And that, so for people showing up in that space. So I'm hoping articulating that of what you said in that and advancing that of what you just said. Yeah.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And that's exactly where I was trying to go with the whole situation. I was actually a server. I don't know if you know this. I used to serve at a restaurant in Colorado Springs when I was in college. And there was one time when my manager actually came over to me and said, "You need to take that off." And I was like, and he went in to grab for it and rip it off.
How about your insulin pump?
It was my insulin pump. And I was like, I can't take it off. It's my insulin pump. And, you know, like kind of putting him in an awkward situation, but hopefully it was a learning moment. Like you can't just come up to people and just assume that.
Oh my gosh, he's about to take it off?
Yes, he went to rip it out. Like I was like, I had to like grab it. I was like, no, like that's my insulin pump. And he came to apologize later, but I was still just kind of thrown back by the whole situation.
Do you think, because before in the our pre-call, you were talking about some people were thinking it's like an MP3 player?
Yes.
Do you think that he's like, you got the headphones on and like, I'm jamming, dude, I'm jamming. Instant, baby.
You know, we can't have phones out at work, no electronics. I was like,
I'm spinning here, you know?
I say it's 2020.
Oh my gosh. Wow. But that's happened though, right? People have thought that it's you have something else on.
Yeah, people will come up with some really crazy, like these little ideas of what it might be, which I honestly tell people too. Like if you have a disability or a disease, like don't be afraid to inform people and try not to get annoyed when people like don't know.
That's right.
What it is. Please ask me questions, please, because if you don't know, I'm not going to be like, what do you mean you don't know? Because I didn't know what diabetes was before I had it. And get this, like I knew people who had type 1 diabetes, and I never took the time to educate myself on what this disease was. It didn't matter to me until I had it. And so now that I'm like, you know, if you have a question, like please ask, because I love to inform people and help spread awareness.
I think that's brilliant. Put that in the chat box. What did you just learn, everybody? What's the insight that you just learned? Put that in the chat box for Tiana right now. Tag Tiana. Put what you're learning on this. I mean, I was like blown away that somebody just about grabbed for her insulin pump. Manager, you can't wear that out here. Cover that thing up. So it happens a lot. I mean, and I'm thinking about other scenarios outside of, you know, I'm thinking about because like I said, my space is more physical disabilities. And one of the reasons why wheelchairs do not have handlebars or hand grips on the back is because of independence. Sometimes when a person's going across the street, they're just kind of wheeling there and just going, and somebody will assume that they need help and begin to push them across the rest of the street. And so if they're having coffee or something in their lap, it spills on them. So it's like just ask somebody for the help. So let's see. Don't make assumptions about people. Is what Lynn says. Absolutely, 100% right. And then you got, how in the world would someone think that's okay? Right? That's what I mean, holy cow. That's just crazy to me that you know, somebody, but you know, hey, people, they gotta, I don't know. This just, I think that's what you said about educating individuals. And I think that's the power move, right? Because there's a difference between power and status. So when somebody has power, they give out status to other individuals. And sometimes groups or individuals or people will want power, and they want people that are in power to give them power.
Right.
But people in power give out status. So you're begging for you're begging for them to elevate your status. And I say, take your power. So you're owning your power. Right. And then you can give out, you use it in a way. And it's not like I'm lording over you. That's not what I'm talking about. It's not I'm the one that's in charge. No, it's that you are confident in who you are. You're confident in how you're showing up. You are resolute. You are resolved in who you are. So therefore, you're not going back to kind of the other people's opinions and kind of fitting in their box. You are demanding that people catch up to where you are. Absolutely. So that they can learn and be educated by how you're showing up. Yep. Man, I love that. Wow. That's so good.
Yeah.
But I think also you're talking about how you have kind of bodybuilding on one side, and then you have a whole other outlet that you do. Talk a little about your poetry and poetry slamming.
Yeah, so I love writing poetry. I have kind of, during COVID, I haven't been doing it as much as I'd like to, but when I was diagnosed with type 1, I actually started to do more writing. It was just a nice outlet for me to put my feelings on paper.
Yeah.
I actually performed, I don't know if you remember, for the pageant, I performed a poem for my talent. Do you remember it?
Nope.
Like, does a seed know that it will one day grow into a tree? March 8th, 2014.
Yes.
The teenage girl. Yep.
Yep.
And we talk about how kind of like, diabetes has really opened my eyes and changed my perspective on the world. And yeah, it was just my favorite poem ever. But
well, I did in Colorado Springs, there's a restaurant downtown. They have this kind of stage in the basement. And some folks don't realize that I was like not really producer, but I was the kind of the DJ. I was the, I would produce events.
Yeah.
And so I had one of the guys that plays piano at our church. So he was like on American Idol, and we had Dwayne Crocker. He was like season finalist on American Idol. So we took all those folks down in the basement. And with that, I brought in some poetry artists. So from 719 Poetry.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So those folks came over, and it was an amazing event. And I think, a lot of times what happens is there has to be these outlets, because we have these thoughts in our head. And I'm really strong on journaling. Usually I just dictate. I journal. I don't really write it. I journal by dictation for most part. And I think it's really important, because those tough days, we can just get the words out.
Right.
So is that kind of another reason why you that's an attraction for you to journal and do poetry?
Yeah, it is, because I know we're talking a lot about confidence, but there are still days when I'm not as confident and I'm not as upbeat about living with a disability. It's not all glamorized, and as much as I like to have like an optimistic and positive outlook on it, there are still days when I just break down and I cry. It's okay to have feelings, and it's okay to be upset. And that's something that I'm learning too. It's normal, especially when you're going through something that you'll have for the rest of your life. It's okay. And so, putting pen to paper is just a great way to cope when those rough days are hit. Something else that I like to tell people too is like, your disability does not define you, and you got to learn to just move and never let it, stop you or get in the way, let it be a barrier in your life. So, yeah, I think poetry too, it's fun to listen to people and how creative they could get, because words are so powerful. Words are powerful. What you say is everything that's coming out of my mouth and your mouth today, it's powerful, and it means something to someone.
And I got notes upon notes upon notes because of my green screen. But I'm just writing all these notes down because you were just blowing it up. I mean, really powerful conversation that we're having right now. So you have a lot of people loving on you right now, Tiana. I may have to move. I may have to move the time to 10, 12, because I mean, people are they're just loving you. So let's see. I like this. What Lynn said. Also take the time to understand someone else's situation. Absolutely. For real. And then we have many people do not think I'm disabled. This Facebook user says it. They do not know the invisible injuries I have. When I have parked in a handicapped parking spot, I was questioned and judged for parking there and accused of using my granddad's handicap parking ticket. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. I'm gonna share kind of it's not funny, but I was ticked. So this is John being in his quirky kind of self. I was having a pretty decent day. I had to go to the airport. I was kind of like this Facebook user right here, and I'm in the airport. I'm going through the line, and I'm wearing I'm wearing pants at this point in time. and I go through this TSA security, and of course the alarm goes off and everything. And I usually I roll my pants leg up so I can just kind of just let them see, right? Because it just makes it easier. And sometimes they see it, and sometimes they don't. They're like, you got to go back, sir. I said, no, I kind of point the leg and off I go. But this time I was feeling a little chippy, and I went through, and the lady on the other side, says, well, you have something on there. I said, yes, I'm a prosthetic, pulling pants leg up. And so she says, oh, that's really cool. How does it work? And I said, this is gonna be horrible. I said, not like the real one.
Oh.
Yes, yes. I was like, it was bad.
Oh, that's
on the other side, she was kind of giving me a little hard time. It was all right. I was just like,
what?
It was not my most shining moment.
I'm glad you bring that up though, because even with me, like going through the airport, whenever I go through the little scanner, I always have to take off my insulin pump. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to just be like, hey, I have an insulin pump on.
Yeah.
But when I go through there, like at the airport here, they typically will do a full body pat down on me. And it's kind of embarrassing to like get a full body pat down just because you have an insulin pump on.
Right.
And so I'll just take it off. I'll like throw it in my bag and just walk through, even though you're not supposed to do that. But it's just easier that way sometimes.
Yeah. And that, again, that's the life that is lived. And so it's always like that. Never assume Sabrina Cooks. That's mommy. That's mommy's on. Hey, mom. Mommy's there. And then Lynn says, thank you, Tiana. Thank you, John, for another engaging conversation. Awesome. Yeah, we're about to get ready to wrap. But where's Dad? We got to get Dad. Sabrina, we got to get Dad on now. Tell her she's on. Your daughter's a rock star. She is crushing this conversation today. So absolutely got to say her. So it's going to be a good dinner tonight. We're going to have a lot of conversations around the table. I want to thank you so much for being on with us, Tiana. Just such a lovely personality. Thanks for sharing your gifting with us and educating us around type 1, type 2 diabetes. Talk a little bit about your organization that you are supporting to kind of give them some love, give them a shout out as well.
Yeah, I work for Beyond Type 1. It's a nonprofit organization. We are one of, or if not, the biggest online platform supporting people with both type 1, type 2, and Spanish diabetes on our platforms. So in my position, I really just engage with community members and provide them resources and programs to help them out. Last week, we recently launched a program called getinsulin.org. And if anybody knows anyone that is in dire need of insulin or needs resources to access insulin, feel free to check that out. You can always find me over there.
Also, put that in the chat box for sure. Put that in the chat box. And for all the other things, is there a way that people can get in contact with you to kind of just watch your growth and your career and everything and just kind of love on you?
So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram at Tiana Cooks. That's my most popular platform and the platform that I'm most comfortable with. But I'm also on Facebook if you want to connect via Facebook as well, and just Tiana Cooks for all my social handles.
All right. I'm putting that in. I was going to put it in there, but I can't do two things at one time. So, Tiana Cooks, somebody put that in the chat box there. Mom says education is key. Absolutely. For sure. And so I just want to thank you for being a guest on today's show. Stick around. I'm going to chat real quick and kind of wrap the show up, and we'll be right back. Just 1 minute. Okay, here we go, everybody. So that was the beautiful, the amazing, the wonderful Tiana Cooks. She is just such a rock star. And I hope that you learned something today as we are in National Disability Employment Awareness Month. I've been taking copious notes the whole time, and just want to kind of go through some of the things that Tiana was talking about, the misconception between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Go back and look at that and hear that so that you can be more educated to help others. Go kind of spread the word around those that are living with this hidden disability. The second thing there are some tough days. We all have tough days that come. And Tiana was saying that, some happy days, I'm crying some days, I'm writing poetry, I'm doing bodybuilding, I'm taking care of myself, I'm living life. So continue to live life. And a lot of you have picked up on that as well. And number 3, her insulin pump, it's not an MP3 player. Don't be trying to pull it away from her. It's not that. So make sure that, we're honoring people and their bodies, what's on their body, so that we can all live this life more free. So check her out for poetry. Check her out for the bodybuilding that's going on. I'm just loving that she just said yes for today, and just put her in the chat box once again for Tiana Cooks. Follow her on LinkedIn. Follow her on the Instagram channel that she has. You're really going to be amazed by what she is doing in the community. So that's kind of our show. I have a lot. The reason I pushed the show up is because I have veterans in business I did this week. I did University of Rhode Island twice, 2 presentations with them. That was incredible. At the same time I was doing that, I was with the SHRM group, Society for Human Resource Management, on their Tune In Tuesdays on a pre-record. So I was watching that as well. And then came back, and I was, if you see my LinkedIn post, I had a picture of myself actually in the chat while I was doing a pre-record for University of Rhode Island in their colloquium. That was crazy. But I was good because I was in San Diego I was in the marina doing that. So that was a nice place. And then I have Alpine Summit, getting ready for that. The Alpine Group Growth Summit that's coming up. IREM, the Institute of Real Estate Management. That's going to be a conversation we're having. Western Governors University. That's this afternoon. Going to be doing that program. And Charter Communication. I have a bunch of others as well. So we're just in the moments of this National Disability Employment Awareness Month, Veterans Month next month as well. We have a new year that's coming up. So we're just pushing into the space of championship mindset. All these things to really get your teams moving, get them rocking and rolling, to understand, kind of like what Tiana was saying today, is that you have your own voice, take your own power, not power to lord over somebody, but power that you are resolute and resolved and know who you are. You can stand firm on understanding in your own power right there. All right. So my name once again is John Register, saying go forth and inspire your world. Go is your command. Forth is your direction. Inspire, that is your vocation. This is your DNA. It's personal to you. World, it's your sphere of influence. Go forth, inspire your world, everybody. We'll see you back here next Thursday. I'll put the time in there. Just make sure that all thing is copacetic. Bye for now, and talk to you soon.